Thank you everyone for coming in today evening. This is meant to be the launch event for Kahani Kamyabi Ki Stories of Success, which will be telecast on ATN-Sony TV at their prime time Sunday, 6:30 in the evening. What I'd like to do is remind everyone that we have a very distinguished panel of very, very accomplished people who have very kindly given us their entire day today. They've had a very long, exhausting day. They've still managed to come back in. What I'd like to request is one by one, we'll be inviting one of these guests over. So please direct your questions to the guests directly. But before I do that, I'm going to invite the producer of the show to come in and say two quick words on the vision behind Stories of Success, Kahani Kamyabi Ki, and how did the entire concept take birth. So I'm going to invite Jay Kalra over. Thank you.
Come in and sorry for the delay, but we were just waiting for your other colleagues to show up. So yeah, thanks for coming. We are launching this series called Stories of Success, Kahaniyan Kamyabi Ki. The season 1, which is based in Toronto. So these all accomplished leaders that you see today are great leaders in their respective industries, in their respective spheres. But one thing amazing is they are from a community, South Asian community, and we're all proud about them, of their achievements. And the show is going to come on ATN-Sony. It's going to telecast every Sunday at 6 p.m. and with repeats on every Saturday at 6 p.m. So we're really looking forward to it. The show is about, the basic philosophy of the show, what we wanted to do was give role models to the new immigrants who are coming in, give role models to the second generation Canadians, because these are the people who have led by example. They have come into Canada as an immigrant themselves or kids of immigrants, and they've seen those initial hardships, the struggles which comes along with being new to a country, a new culture, a new landscape. And they have excelled. They've excelled with their great zeal and spirit and their hard work and perseverance. So we want to tell their stories to get these role models out for the new immigrant community and the new generations of, the second generations of Canadians and the third generations of Canadians that are growing up. So I will not take much of your time. I will invite I'll invite them on the podium one by one, and you can direct your questions. In the interest of time, we'll keep it short and brief because we are anyways running late, so we're trying to make up for the time. So let me start by inviting the CEO and President of HP. HP is presenting our show with HSBC as presenting sponsors. So I'll invite Marianne Dimitrovic to come and say 2 words about the show and then take your questions. Thank you. Thanks, Marianne.
My pleasure. Hey, everybody. What can I say about the show? I think it's fantastic that there's a medium that celebrates the successes of all these people around us and that creates inspiration for new immigrants coming to our country. It's very exciting. So I'm pleased to be part of this as a sponsor from HP. And I'll be happy to take any questions. Anybody? Pardon? I'm sorry, I can't hear you, sir. Why is HP part of this series? Oh, why am I doing it? One, my parents are immigrants to Canada, and they came to this country without the language, with the dream of making this place a success for themselves and for their children. And we bear the responsibility as children of immigrant parents to deliver on the sacrifices that they had. So I want to give back to that community and create inspiration for other immigrants that come to our nation that you can do that. As far as HP, we as an organization have a philosophy where, and it's part of a business imperative, that everything we do also is diverse and inclusive. So we have a philosophy around that as an organization to hire diversity, to have more and more people come work in our organization so we can better serve our clients because we understand that our clients are diverse. And when you bring your whole self to HP, you bring all your ideas, and there's a synergy that happens when you can be who you are and bring your creativity to help us create better technologies that serve our customers and make our organization a great place to work. So that's the impetus for HP's participation here. Of course we've benefited. That's a great question. The question was, how does HP benefit from having a diverse and inclusive environment? Our board of directors is the most diverse board in technology company in the United States. So it starts from the very top, from our board of directors, our CEO, everyone talks about it, because what happens, and everyone, we're hiring that way, we're promoting that way, because we have more creative ideas. Our engineers, our scientists, our administrative staff, everyone, when they come with these new ideas, we can create better technologies to serve our customers in Canada that are diverse, but also globally. We're in 170 countries. So you can't come up with it from one lens. You need to have all these different ideas come forward. Thank you. Oh, good, because I got nothing. Except I got Croatian and English. Dobrodošli, hvala što ste ovdje. Yes. Because Canada is the most diverse nation, I think it's wonderful that everyone comes here from somewhere else, right? For the most part, there's an Indigenous group, but we've all come from somewhere else, and we've retained our heritage and our customs and our cultures, and we get to do that and still be Canadian, still celebrate Canadian hockey teams and baseball teams and sports teams and comedy figures, all these different Canadians that have done things. But we are still true to our heritage, and we're allowed to keep our heritage, and we have respect for one another's heritage. You know, I grew up in a neighborhood, I'm Croatian, but I had lots of different peoples from all over the world as my neighbors. And so we always had respect for our neighbors, their culture, that they did things differently. And I think that that's great that we have that tolerance and acceptance and desire for everyone to be able to celebrate who they are and come here and celebrate their holidays, their festivals, their feasts, and contribute to this country as individuals from a different culture. I think it's just wonderful. Well, thank you for that question. I mean, I take my responsibility as the leader of HP seriously. Obviously, I have to deliver the numbers at work, and we have to do the good things for our employees, but more than that, beyond that, is to be able to be a role model for girls of all parts of the world and all ethnicities, because there are still very few of us at this table, as you can see. I mean, we have some brilliant men here, we have some brilliant women, but we have a ways to go yet for girls to be able to advance their careers. And not just girls, boys too. Boys are being raised differently. I have 2 sons. They know that girls can be more than a stay-at-home mom that perhaps my grandmother was. So I have a responsibility, and I take it seriously, to be able to provide mentorship to young women, to show them role models so that they can aspire to be more than they ever thought they could, perhaps. And our country provides that opportunity, and their parents came here to provide their girls and boys with that opportunity. Thank you. Yes? Key leadership lessons to pass on. First and foremost, it's the thing that my parents taught me by being role models, is work hard. Work harder than the next people every single day. Because once you work harder, you will receive more because you put that energy and effort in. The other one is to include everyone's opinions and your ideas. Listen first, understand, so that you can then be smarter yourself, because you will learn from many people around you. Lead by example, so be a strong role model for the people that work for you. And as a leader, you also have a responsibility to serve your employees, to help your employees be better. So continually work with your teams and individuals to advance them, right? Someone who's quiet, perhaps you need to ask them a question because they have something they can contribute, but it's not their nature to contribute openly. Or someone that is very gregarious, maybe you need to help them soften some parts of their personalities to be more successful. But you need to be a role model to lead them, and always do it with integrity and strong ethics. A little bit, yes. Yes, because I have 2 sons. One is very quiet, so my responsibility as a mother to him is to help him grow a little bit more differently that way. But that happens in environments of work too, and we tend to forget the person who is quiet, that needs more thoughtful time to consider something. So we as leaders have a responsibility to bring out the best out of all the people that work for us. And once you help enable that, you will have a better organization and they will come to work happily and we will just be more successful as individuals and as a company. So that excites me. I think we're done here. Thank you very much,
To
everyone.
invite Mr. Bobby Binning to come on and take some question. Bobby Binning is the president of Whittington Investment, which owns company, which is the holding company for George Weston Group, which runs companies like Loblaws, Shoppers Drug Mart, Holt Renfrew, and many, many more. So he will take on to your questions from now on. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jay. I think Jay's introduced me, but I'm happy to sort of take any questions. It is interesting. I had, before I came to Weston about 10 years ago, worked for global companies around the world, and certainly coming into a family-controlled company was something new to me at that point in time. But what I would sort of say, in terms of the way that we and the family approach business, is very much right at the highest levels of governance. In terms of there's no difference to me compared to working in, say, a widely held public company. And so therefore, standards of governance, integrity, respect for the individual. We're one of Canada's biggest employers. Indeed, I think we are the biggest employer with over 200,000 employees. And so that's been important, in terms of bringing those family values to the workplace. And that's what we've been trying to do. In terms of, what I've tried to do is really, focus on a few areas. I'm very passionate about talent management in our organization, and it's something that's been important to me right the way through my career. So developing and growing people and allowing them to fulfill their potential is something that's been a priority for me as right the way through my career. The second sort of thing is when you work in the types of roles that I have, it's important, obviously, that you create value, for your shareholders and all the other stakeholders in the company. What we've been trying to do, and everywhere I've gone has been the same, is try to create world-class companies, that have a sort of a long-term future. You have to obviously set an appropriate vision and empower people around that and motivate and inspire them. So these sort of things, are very important. But what we've tried to do here, certainly at the Western group of companies, is create a world-class company. Yeah. There's been a lot of defining moments, and so you'll have to watch the show to sort of see many of them. Yeah, so I have to plug the show. I think in terms of one of the things that I've never, been afraid to do is take risk. And, so what I've tried to do when I've moved, and you'll see when you see the show, my career started in the UK, and then I came here to Canada about a decade ago, just over a decade ago. But one of the sort of things that's really been important to me is to try and make a difference in everything that I've done in my career. And so I've never been afraid of taking risk. I've never been afraid of losing my job. But for me, going into sort of situations that are very challenging and demanding have been, for me, the right things to do. Because I believe that that's where you develop professionally much more than sitting in a stable environment. So I took on challenges, when companies were in complete crisis. In the UK at Marconi, here in Canada at Nortel, with a view to trying to save the company. And so, I've never been shy from going away from that. Okay, very good.
Steve Gupta. Yeah. As we all know, he's one of the most successful success stories from our community, and this hotel belongs to him. Many hotels belong to him, and he will take your questions from here on. And as Pavi said, he's got a great story, but for that you'll have to watch the show. Don't give them anything about the show.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead. That's good. No questions, then I can sit down. Sure, go ahead. Well, I did this interview for myself, but I think I've been convinced by some of my friends sitting here, especially Sujit Barbara, that 5, 6 years, 7 years ago, I would never talk to media, and he's the one convinced that it's important for us that whatever we have achieved, that we share it with the next generation. And I believe if we can inspire one or few people, I think we feel that we have done something right. That is the purpose of us getting involved in this. Very, very good question. There's no definite formula for success, but a few number of things that I have followed I can explain to you. One is hard work. There's no substitute for hard work. I always say, harder I work, luckier I get. And the other one is having confidence. 3 is putting that extra degree of effort towards the end. A lot of people, and if you see in Olympics, the difference between the gold medal and the silver medal is split second. So that's the extra effort that you have put in. Then, if you boil the water at 99 degrees, it's just simply hot water. But if you give that extra 1 degree, 100 degrees Celsius, it becomes steam and can run locomotives. That's the extra effort that a lot of people leave at that point. They don't like to push that or kind of get exhausted, whatever the reasons are. And then optimism. Optimism is most important in anything what you want to do. If you think at home that, oh, I don't think I can do it, then you'll never achieve something. No pessimist has ever discovers the stars. Optimism pays big dividends, but you have to invest in yourself and think, yes, I can do it. You're standing on this side of the lake, and the lake, you don't know how deep or how far the lake is, but you have that optimism and the confidence, I can cross it. And that's what it makes a difference. Surround yourself with the right people, strong, talented people, and that is very, very important. And then, again, God is up there to help you. If you work hard, have all these number of things with you, there's no reason for not being successful. So sorry, can you speak up? Yeah. Well, so you're saying that there are a lot of struggles?
And you didn't also start a journey with a lot of struggles. So how your journey has been so far?
Well, everybody has struggles. I can tell you that when I was in India, I come from Punjab. If I had gone to Bombay, I'll have maybe more struggles than I have here. Over there, I had to compete with 1 billion people. Here, I compete with 32 million people. And struggles are everywhere, but you have to overcome them. That you have to work harder than your next door. I always say in a class of 100 or 200 or 50 people, doesn't matter. If you want to be top of the class, you got to work harder than all of the students in the class. Obstacles, difficulties are also, they are the feedback for your tomorrow's success. Anybody else? Maybe we can give chance to some other people. Sorry? Sure, please, go ahead. Who are the leaders I admire? Well, I have admired a number of them, and not just because who they are. I've admired Ronald Reagan, I've admired Clinton, not for some of the reasons, but what they did for the world. And but I take from the leaders or any successful person, there are a number of them, take movie stars, say is in the film business, you pick up 4 or 5 of those movie stars. If you see their life story and how hard they worked, you find out why. And every leader behind there's a ton of hard work. People think that, oh, he's successful, he's the president of a company, or he made all this money, but they don't know how much work goes behind it, how much sacrifices you have made along the way to get there. So I think behind every leader, there's a huge amount of success behind, and the people who serve get hurt. I can tell you my wife is a great supporter of me. And if she wasn't at home looking after the children and looking after everything else at home, I wouldn't have been as successful as I am. So it's a combination that's so I call that she's a true leader behind. Our children are very, very educated. And giving them good cultural values, that's also is important, giving second generation a chance to succeed. Good. Anybody?
The Chief Risk Officer from HSBC Bank, they are again our presenting sponsors with HP, and I'll have them say a few words about the show. Raza? That's Mr. Raza Hassan.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. On behalf of HSBC, it's my great pleasure to be here. I mean, as you know, HSBC is Canada's leading international bank. There's no other bank like us here in Canada where there's no domestic bank that has that global reach, and there is no international bank here that has as many branches and as big of a business as we have here. So for us, this is a great thing to be part of because it demonstrates how new immigrants are coming to Canada and contributing to Canada. And if once you have the show, and then please do watch it, and you will hear the stories of all of the individuals who are here and the unique stories that they bring and how inspiring it is for young individuals or immigrants. And HSBC is a bank that invests a lot in young individuals. We have done, annually we do $7 million charitable contributions in Canada, and a big portion goes to youth and youth initiatives. So it's a really good for us to be part of this and see how individuals like these are inspiring our young people and immigrants that are coming into Canada. Yeah, so I've been with HSBC for about 2 years, but I've been in the banking industry for quite some time. And I guess in terms of advice of moving up the corporate ladder, I would say, I would just reiterate some of the comments that were made earlier, which is hard work, that's important. And then taking risk. So I'm the Chief Risk Officer, and some people may think that's about avoiding risk, and that's not, the job. It's about taking those calculated risks, trying to make sure that the risk-reward equation is the right equation. And that's what you need to do with your career too, to make sure that you are taking risk, and what differentiates you between someone else is sometimes people get too comfortable in their job and are not willing to take different experiences. So I highly advise people to take risks with their career, the right risk, take the right risk, and that will always help you to grow and climb up in an organization. Yeah, so HSBC is helping new immigrants in a lot of different ways. One is more about the community engagement. So we do a lot of work in terms of working with various different organizations that are helping immigrants integrate and find jobs, do training. So we do a lot of that, those kind of initiatives. One of the things that we have at HSBC is we highly encourage our staff. And we have a lot of staff here that are immigrants themselves that are doing well. And we have programs where we allow our staff to work without taking an unpaid leave. They get a 1 day off, and they can go out there and do stuff which is helping community, anything that matters to them. And a lot of our staff do spend a lot of time in terms of coaching new immigrants, helping them. I know I do that myself quite a bit in terms of seeing what advice I can give to new immigrants. So that's one thing. The other thing is we are a bank. We have products. We have leading products when it comes to individuals that are coming here. They want to open their first bank account. They want to get mortgages. and make sure that their financial needs are taken care of. And one thing that does differentiate us versus other banks that are here is that we are in 67 countries. So you know what? We are in India. If you're somebody that's coming over from India into Canada and you bank with us, we already know what we know about you in India, and we can help you then open an account here more quickly and provide you a service that not only takes into account your time here, but the time that you had in India. Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, all the banks that are here. I mean, we are Canada's 7th largest bank. So obviously, they are top 5 Canadian banks that are here. Globally, we are a very, very large bank, as I said. But in Canada, we are 7th largest. And I go back to what I said, that there's no bank that has the global reach, no domestic bank that has a global reach of what we have, or there's no international bank that has. We have 130 branches here in Canada, roughly, and we are growing. HSBC has identified Canada as one of the key markets that it wants to grow in. We are a very significant contributor to the group results, and you will see us much more active, and we have been over the last couple of years, and over the next couple of years we'll be opening more branches in Canada and making sure that our presence is increasing here. Sure. Yeah, we have approximately 130 branches here. Yes. Okay.
Right, Mr. Surjit Babra, a serial entrepreneur who has launched many companies with in aviation sector. And right now he's an entrepreneur who's even running his own venture capital firm and one of the biggest food processing units in Ontario. So he'll take the mic from me.
Good evening, everybody. I'm ready for your questions. Yes, sir. He gave us zippers to put on before we came. My message is not for any particular community, it's for a global community, because we are all no longer part of a community, we are a global community now. So it applies to everybody. Obviously, I have a twist to hard work. Hard work is an ingredient like tadka in the dal. So it's important to work hard, but it's important to also work smart. You can't, I was taught at a very young age that you can't cut a log with a blunt saw. You can spend the whole day cutting it and say, I worked hard. That's not good enough. You have to be smart enough to stop, check the teeth, sharpen the saws, it's called. So it's very important. And prior to that, I think to succeed in life, you should have fire in the belly. You must be able to want to succeed. That passion has to be internal. I do not believe we can give it to you. What mentors can give, and everybody should have mentors, is that they can light the fire in you, but you must have the fuel to succeed. And anybody can succeed. So basically, I was taught from a young age, what a man has done, a man can do. So you all stand a good chance. So that means if one person has achieved something, you too can achieve it. So my message to the next generation, you You can be the rising stars. You can do anything, even much more than what we have all achieved. Three mentors. First of all, you should have a vision, and then visions everybody can have. You have you sit around, you can have great visions. Then the question is, you should have good action plans, and you should have the passion to succeed. So visions on its own, you get visions day and night. You dream in day, you dream at night. It doesn't matter. So visions are good. However, what are you going to do about the visions? Are you going to take the next step forward and get to your goals? So it's important. And then once you've got the next plan, you slice them into little bits and how you can handle them. So every action plan has to be sliced, how you're going to take it down, because you can't take it in a wholesome way. Does that answer your question? Oh, I'm lucky. Okay,
So
thank
with
you.
us, one of the most distinguished surgeons, spine surgeons in the world today. He's hailed as one of the best spine surgeons in the whole world, and his achievements have been documented at so many multiple times. And it's a great honor to have him with us today, Dr. Y. Raja Ramprasad. So he'll take your questions from here, and I'll ask him to speak a little about what it takes for a doctor to be successful in the medicine world.
Thank you. Do you want me to answer that question, or? Or we'll wait for the story, please. I might be answering your question. That's a great question. Like many of us, it started from literally nothing, and you build from there. And yes, it's hard work, etc., but it's what you do beyond that. And one of the things I think to add to what's already been said is risk aversion is one thing, but also don't be afraid to fail. But more importantly, if you do fail, do you learn from your failure? Because if you keep failing and you're not learning, well, that's a different conversation. But so part of it is in the sense of the journey for me was actually coming out of that environment that I grew up in, because it was fairly constrained in its thinking, and thinking outside and being creative was sort of not the norm. It was the opposite of the norm. And getting into medicine, doing the work to get there, once I became in the medical field, it just opened up the entire world of possibility. So education, having that ability. In today's world, of course, that kind of knowledge is at your fingertips today. Most of us, when we came here, there was no internet, there was no this, there was no that. So being introduced to a broader environment to stimulate that thinking and learning from your environment and learning from your experiences to allow you to be a better person, but also to be more creative and try to meet the needs of your environment. And always ask yourself, well, how do I make my environment better? And actually do something about it, rather than complain about it. So there's two directions you can go when you're faced with challenges in the medical field or any other field for that matter. It's ultimately, what are you willing to do to actually change it? Okay. Sure. So I'll define that a little further. Don't take risk with your patient's life or their safety. So I'll redefine failure a little bit such that, but ways of doing things differently. So a good example of the program that we've built to try to increase access for individuals across the province. It took years of research to try different methodology, different types of research, and sometimes it's not perfect. But if you just keep waiting for perfect, it may never come. So you have to take advantage and be pragmatic about how you move something forward. And one of the first failures was taking a very provider or physician-centric approach to the problem. Well, this is about me, and I have a long wait time, so let's just create a barrier for people to see me. Well, that obviously wasn't helping the general public. So it's about getting other stakeholder perspective and really trying to understand the problem that it is you're frustrated with from the perspective of those affected by it, and ultimately listening to and being part of the solution rather than sort of physician-centric or whatever centric you are, person about it. And that certainly allows us to come up with more creative ways and do things differently, but ultimately figure out what is my goal here and who's my target audience, in the sense of what am I trying to change for my patient that also will make me happy, make the payer happier, and involve the whole healthcare system to move forward. Yes. In the, sorry, which? Of course. But it's just a pure numbers game at that point. So yes, we're very successful on a numbers perspective. On a per capita perspective, I don't know the answer to that. Some of my colleagues behind me might know, but of course, education and attaining education is very much the fundamental value that most of us in this room, our parents instilled upon us, and it's something that we try to instill. But it opens up the whole world to you if you can see things and learn things from a broader perspective. Right. Great question. About 80% of the world has a spine problem at some point, whether it's a sore back for a day or for their life, and about 25% of people at any given time have a back issue. So it's a very common problem. The point I'm trying to make, though, probably only 1 or 2% of those individuals actually ever would benefit or need surgery. So the issue around failed surgery is always a good question. And sometimes it's you have a problem that we can't fix, or it's a desperate situation that they try to fix and failed, or you have a surgeon who is looking at themselves from their gain perspective rather than is this an operation that's indicated for that person. So it's not a simple answer, unfortunately. And literally every spine problem is different. So I can't speak to the why specifically they would have gotten worse.
But we'll try to get everyone to answer your questions, but we'll request a more quicker turnaround time. Next, we have with us a very beautiful, gracious lady, Lata Pada, who has numerous honors to her credit. She holds the distinction of being one of the only 15 Indians globally to have won an award of Pravasi Samman Award from President of India. So, very accomplished performer. She promotes Indian classical dance in North America, like with a lot of zeal. And it's a great honor to have her here, and I'll have her answer your questions quickly.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. Hi. Firstly, I don't think of it as a legacy. I've just been one of those fortunate people who've made a career out of what they love doing. And I think what I want to be able to leave is an appreciation for the arts. More importantly, not as entertainment, but as the arts of being true agents of change in society. Because I think artists are extremely intrepid and courageous people, and they're not afraid to tell stories that probably don't meet with general approval. Artists are like the mirror to society. They hold up a mirror to society. So their works are always representative of what society is, both good and the bad. And that is what I would like to be able to mentor and to inspire younger generations. The other thing that I'd like to leave with my new with new Canadians is be proud of who you are. Know that you come from a very deep and a rich tradition. And know that we are very fortunate to live in a country where we can celebrate our own unique identities. And the arts are a wonderful way of doing that. But at the same time, I would encourage young Canadians to think of giving back to society. I feel that in the pursuit of settling down and success that we aspire to when we come to Canada, even after several decades of having lived here, we're not making enough of an effort to give back to the community, to participate, or to even understand who you are as a Canadian. And for me, it's very difficult when people say back home, and they talk about the countries that they've left behind. I know they do that with a great sense of nostalgia, but it's important to inculcate the feeling that this is home, and this is where you're raising your family. This is where you need to give back. Well, it's been an honor. It's been an honor to have spent the last few hours with such inspiring individuals and learning about their own particular journeys. But I think what we all share is we are incredibly passionate about what we do. We think, we have a vision, and we think of no other options but following our vision. Well, I'd say that the arts, and particularly dance, allows you to be creative. And being creative is not just the prerogative of the arts. Being creative is a skill set that you can develop even if you move into corporate Canada or you go on to becoming an academic or in the medical sciences. Being creative is something that will open up so many doors to you. Thank you. Thank you. That's an important question. The classical arts are not old-fashioned. The classical arts keep evolving over time. They are as current, as modern, as contemporary as we want it to be.
Another very big success story from our community. He started his company from his basement, and today his company runs and operates in more than 170 countries globally. Right, Carla? If I'm not getting the number wrong. Yes. His customers are there in more than 170 countries globally. His many Fortune 500 companies are his clients, and he employs close to 1,000 people globally in 22 different countries. So let's invite him. Hi. Go ahead. I think, a lot of people have great potential, but they're, I believe one of the first words most human beings learn is the word no. So if you think about it, throughout your lifetime, you're hearing that word no, and I think people have much more potential, but they're just a little risk adverse and they're scared to fail. So if we can move a little past that risk, and to be honest, I was one of those nervous people. So I graduated from university, and I had this vague idea in the back of my head that someday I'd start a business, but I was nervous. I didn't feel I had the right level of experience and whatnot, and so I worked a while, and I was a contractor for doing work for Nortel and these sort of companies, and my contract ended, and I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. So I went to the basement at that time, but it took me a while to get the courage to really try it. So I think what holds people back generally is, we think we will fail. We're scared of failure. But I think, it's like a lot of the gentlemen here said, you do have to have vision, and you have to have a smart way to go about it, of course. But human beings sometimes are just a little scared of failing. Does that make sense? Okay. To start a business, as much as it may, standing up here, it sounds like, you've achieved a lot, but there's a hell of a lot of sacrifice. One of the gentlemen here mentioned that, he achieved a lot because, his wife is at home and doing a lot of, taking care of the kids and things like that. So to run a business, you got to sacrifice, first of all, family life, and I happen to be lucky. I have a really good wife who helps my kids and things like that. You sacrifice your personal time. When I started out, I used to play a lot of sports. I used to play ice hockey and squash and all the rest of that, so I had to kind of give that up. So there's really a lot of personal sacrifice. There's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of stress. As you grow a tech company, there'll be trolls who attack you, so you have to learn how to defend legal issues and all that. So I'm not going to stand up here and say it's an easy journey. It's a tough journey, and it's really not a journey for the weak, right? So you have to have some, if you like, some guts to really get there. Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay.
Next, we would like to invite somebody who has scaled the ladder of corporate Canada straight to top. He started many years back when he came from England, and today is the vice chair of PricewaterhouseCoopers Canada, a big powerhouse, a big public accounting firm. And it's great that a leader from our community is leading it. So let's welcome Raj Kothari.
Good evening. I'll just take any questions you have. You like the pink socks? I'm glad they're not orange today. So when I look at my life, there are a couple of tipping points which have driven me to where I am. One is my father's early death when I was 14-year-old, and therefore that was one thing. I was an angry young man at that time and wanted to prove that, why should that have, not prove, but I wanted to demonstrate to the world that I now have to succeed without him. The second tipping point in my life was when I came to Canada and had to basically, in spite of having the CA designation from England and the MBA from England, I had to restart my career with a 5-year setback. Now it doesn't happen. I became the first South Asian partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a global powerhouse, one of the largest professional services firm in the world. So these were some of the tipping points that were what drove me to where I wanted to go. I wanted to prove that I'm as good as anybody else in this world, if not better. So that was the broad picture. The second thing that from a team perspective was important is the sense of fearlessness. I believe the sooner you feel you can get the fear out of you, that is what is going to make you succeed. Fearlessness. Napoleon said that. He did not know the word fear. Second, the other aspect is I never compared myself to anybody. I compared myself to who I wanted to be because I knew my purpose, what I wanted to give back, etc. So giving back became an extremely important part of my life. Because at the day I start comparing, I will never be good enough for somebody else. So I never compared myself to anybody. I compared myself to who I wanted to be. I don't know if that answers some elements of your question, but as I said, fearlessness, lack of comparison, understand your purpose, who do you want to be, aim for the Everest, and hopefully you'll get, if not to the Everest, you'll get to Mount Kanchenjunga or Mount Kailash. Okay? No other questions? Thank you.
Well, next we'll invite somebody who made a brand which I think everybody of us have in our kitchen, and that's the crispy brand of products, which is the crispy naan, crispy cake rusk, and the list goes on. And he's somebody who came as an immigrant to the country and started this bakery, which is one of the biggest exporting unit in packaged foods from Ontario. So we'll invite Ali to come and join us. Ali Kizilbash, thank you. Thanks very much.
Hello. Yeah, I think Crispy is, we are one of the most diversified manufacturing unit in at least Canada, where we do almost 13 different lines. So from frying to making naan, there's every single thing we do differently. And for your information, we just finalized some of the major deals to sell naan and roti in USA. So I think it's a growing trend. People are getting away from the loaf bread and moving on to the flat bread. So good for us. Yeah. Well, I'm a chemical engineer who worked for Exxons and ICIs. So when I started, my first product was, you call it Papa back home, which is like a tea toast. And all my friends ask me, what has gone wrong with you? Why are you making this Papa? I mean, we thought it's a very low tech and you shouldn't be doing this. I said, well, you know what? I've seen the most useless people succeeding in food business, so I'll give it a try. So there's the story behind my success, or whatever you may call that. Yeah. I think success, I define between failure and success, the element which makes it fail or succeed is the time you stop trying. So to me, I've never failed because I never stopped trying. So either I'm in a state of trying to succeed or not. So I think failure is defined by your desire to leave the pursuit. So I hope that answers your questions. We all have the same desire of continuously improving. I truly believe that tomorrow should be better than today. And if you are not that, you will never succeed. I mean, you must be looking at improving yourself, your ability. And a lot of people ask, what does an entrepreneur need the most? I define it by an ability to make people work. I mean, say, when I did my first job, a question was asked to me, what kind of a boss would you like? And they gave me three choices. They said, would you like a lazy, smart boss, a lazy goof boss, or a hardworking, smart boss? I said, I like a lazy, smart boss. And they said, why? Because I said, you know what, he'll let me grow. So we all need to basically delegate and develop people, and that's what I like to do. So that makes my life easy and makes the people around me work harder. What impact? Oh, okay. Sorry. Generally speaking, it's always a good learning to hear from people who either by fluke or by design succeeded. So we are all trying to give you our best suggestions of what helped us succeeding. And if we can do a little bit for somebody to grasp what we all achieved, I think we have done some good job. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yeah. I hope
We are from Rohtak and has taken the real estate market in Brampton, Mississauga, and the whole GTA by storm. $2 billion in sales in 8 years. Founder and president of Save Max Realty, Ramanduva.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Jay. Yes, please. The most easiest one. Market is fantastic. It's going to be a very good market for the next year. I know there's a little bit hiccups there, here and there for 2018, but there are certain reasons for that. The only thing is it's a little negative sentiment. But I can assure you with my experience, I live in GTA market, I breathe this market. 2019 is going to be a very fantastic year, especially for real estate sector. And I'm pretty sure like we all have interest in the real estate. So that's the most interesting part what I live every day. Yes, please. Every new immigrant, they come with a zeal, they come with a passion to be successful. The only challenge what I see in most of them is they bring their country back with, they bring whatever they have done in India, they have that thing, or any other country for the sake of, they bring those things here and try to get success with those formulas. But I think what I learned and understand in this country, you just need two things to be successful in this country. One is your hard work, and one is your work with the integrity and honesty. And that's what makes you successful in this country. Any new immigrant, please make sure, take your chances. This country gives you everything. If this country can give an opportunity to a common man like me to be successful, I think everybody can be a success story. And it's my pleasure and honor to be on this platform and to share my story with other new immigrants to show them the real Canada. And that is what really makes this country great. And we are here to contribute to the economy, to the society, as well as to our next generation, because that is what we aim for. We want to make sure our next generation gets good into this society and contribute positively. Thank you. Thank you.
Figure in the room today, Gaurav Padhya. Gaurav has been the Senior Vice President with Manulife Insurance, and right now is the Chief Actuary with a very big insurance company, Foresters Financial. His story has truly been inspirational, and it's a great honor to have him here to share his story, that how somebody, if you really believe in yourself, nothing in this world can stop you. Please, Gaurav.
Thanks, Jay. Sure, thanks. I guess my story, a couple of quick pivotal points. I got polio when I was 3. and was born in India, and then my parents immigrated to Canada, and as I've kind of grown in the country, I entered the sort of actuarial field, and I've had a chance to really grow in corporate Canada, I guess, and doing lots of different things. And when I look back, especially with the show on my life, in a sense, like many people, it's really been driven a lot by the support I had from my family, and then over time, sponsors that I had in companies, the relationships I built. Like a lot of people say, I mean, there's a lot of hard work and focus I had early, but I do think it's a lot of the relationships, making sure that, you sort of help others and others help you. I sort of probably experienced it more at a younger age because my disabilities, you have a bit more reliance on people. Personally, I always wanted to be independent, so that was a strong drive in my life, early on. And I do hope that, for especially people who are disabled or have family members, I hope it'll help them think about the fact that, a lot is possible, because a lot of stuff is quite often in people's minds, what they can do, what they can't do, because there aren't that many role models. So I hope I can help people not really bind their own lives, kind of think in terms of what's possible. It's great. Thank you very much.
A self-made man who became the franchisee of a company, but grew this company so big that he became bigger than the master company itself. And now he has taken over that company. So we'll have him say his story.
Thank you. La Prep is an upscale European cafe concept, and we're really proud to be a sponsor of this show. I think it will definitely benefit us to get the name out to South Asian community, and that's one of the reasons that we have decided to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience and support. Thank you.